past lives. There's a reason why I had to save this one for last, because all of the information that flowed before it flows down into past lives, because a lot of people believe in reincarnation because of their experience with past lives. To them, that experience undergirds their belief in reincarnation. Out of everything that I studied for this video, this was probably the trickiest one to research and look into. I still want to research and look into this even more, but this is the information that I have compiled so far, and I want to give the logical, general, and spiritual reasons why I believe past lives are problematic. So I'm going to start with the logic and the general aspects of this topic. Now, when I started doing this research, I knew that I couldn't just cover reincarnation by itself, but I would have to look into this aspect of past lives. What about people who claim reincarnation is true because of memories from a past life? Some claim to impressively recall past life memories, including children. Hopefully, I can help clarify some of this. One of the first things I noticed, not just from experience, but also as I researched this topic, that past life stories in and of themselves are unanimously accepted at face value. They're accepted as correct until proven false. This is very important to remember, because let's just say that if I told you right now that Jenny over here believes reincarnation were true because she used to be a peasant girl named Gwendolyn in her past life, which explains why she is the way she is, this would be difficult to evidentially disprove because very little facts would be available about this supposed person. In my experience in the New Age, evidence isn't necessarily something that's respected outside of personal experience. Your experience is your truth. So if someone says they have past life memories, and because they have this, then to them, reincarnation must be true. The other thing that I found is that this is a very inconsistent claim. So if people are living out their karma based on past lives, it seems strange to me that they would remember very, very minimal and quite unhelpful things about their past life. If you have a terrible life now, what purpose would past lives have to help you with your karma? And not to mention how it's fair that you're being punished for something you can't even remember? How could you possibly improve from lifetime to lifetime if you can't remember what you did in a previous life? Furthermore, a lot of them contradict, and I mean a lot. I read about 50 or so past life memory stories to gather this information, and I noticed these inconsistencies. I remember when I was in the New Age, virtually all my New Age friends had past life memories. Take, for example, the people who have claimed to be the reincarnation of a famous historical figure. Riddle me this. How can a dozen people claim to be the reincarnated Queen of England at the same time? How can all of them supposedly have memories from a historical figure that conflict? Not only that, but if people are reincarnated immediately, that means that they're born in the same lifetime as the people who they would have known at the time. If they had past life memories, wouldn't they be able to identify these times, places, and people with more specifics? What I'm getting at is that many times people believe that their experiences are memories, when in fact they're jumping to conclusions by sensationalizing what they are perceiving as memories without considering other factors, or they're experiencing what's called cryptomnesia, which is a fancy word for when someone takes in information and forget where it's from. What will happen is they'll later recall the information, but they believe it's from a previous life because they have no other recollection of where it came from. Now, what about child prodigies, or people that seem to suddenly have a talent that they didn't have before? It would seem to me there's a more natural explanation for this than to conclude it's something from a past life. And if someone makes the claim that this is something from a past life, when it's examined and looked into, many of these stories just simply don't add up. They're wildly inconsistent. Past lives are brought up in memories, dreams, hypnosis, meditation of some kind. I was trying to specifically look for claims that people had past life memories and what proof they had of it. The best proof that I found is that they feel it. They claimed that they have had memories come up in their dreams and through meditation or hypnosis sessions where they do past life therapy. In these cases, confirmation bias is strong. It's set before people even go into a hypnosis session. It's a very subjective conclusion to come to think that a dream, which is difficult to decipher as it is, was a past memory. People are going into this wanting it to be true, and they're not there to be told otherwise. This reminds me so much of what's going on in our culture right now with gender dysphoria. People don't go anymore to therapy to be told, oh, you don't have gender dysphoria. No. They're convinced that they have it, and they're going to go and have that confirmed from the therapist. The therapist isn't even really allowed anymore to deny that they're not trans. It's a big problem. This is exactly what this reminds me of. You have somebody who is there not to tell them that this is not past life memory. Oh no, it is. Let's get more. Let's see how we can get more out of here. Let's find more of these memories. This, by the way, is how a lot of false memories can happen. People think they're remembering something, even if it's past life abuse that never actually happened. They are, in essence, believing in a lie to explain why they are the way they are. Now, here's the tricky part about it. This might be a comfort to some people. Some people even say this has helped them. People base the whole validity of these therapy sessions on if it's helped them or not. But here's the thing. You're still letting a lie comfort you, and that's a false comfort based on a false truth. In many cases, people go into these sessions or meditations expecting and believing that they would tap into a subconscious spiritual memory bank, which means a lot of times they were more likely to fabricate information that they would see equal with memories. And honestly, let's face it, guys, if you are paying a lot of money to do past life therapy and believe that this is a valid way to find out your past life memories, then there's more of an incline to perceive whatever is experienced in the session as valid. People all the time are prone to mistaking their own daydreams or wishful fantasies as memories. And I say that as someone who used to believe in this. The capacity for me to believe such subjective ideas was staggering. And this is important, guys, because when your worldview revolves around your inner supremacy and feelings as equal to fact, then you get a whole mess of outcomes. I also found this pretty interesting as well, that a lot of the alleged evidence for past lives, particularly in children, comes from children in India, where reincarnation is already an accepted and expected belief. We would expect people that accept this worldview to accept it at face value. I even have a personal story about past lives that applies here. Someone very close to me, and we're still friends, they constantly believed that they were a princess in a past life. Not a famous one, but she maintained that the reason why she had good taste, was picky, and rather entitled was because she was a princess in a previous life. It was sort of annoying because sometimes they would use this as an excuse for their behavior. At the time, I was also into trendy spirituality, so I didn't really question her until she said something rather anachronistic. I'm pretty sure that's a word. Anachronism, anachronistic. Well, it is now, so. She claims that she was a 13th century medieval princess, adored by many. Though it could be inconsistent, she'd give specifics about the time frame and at one time claimed that in her former life as a princess, she had read the Bible, and in it she said that she read about reincarnation. She claimed that she remembers that when she read this, she knew she was going to pass this memory to her next lives, so they remembered the truth about this being in the Bible. This was the 13th century, and she's just casually reading the Bible? And it supposedly had reincarnation in it? In an unknown land? This is extremely unlikely that anyone would have had such free access to the scriptures so readily and was able to read it in its language, even a supposed princess. Not only that, but it's important to know that the printing press wasn't even invented yet. So it's stories like this that people weigh their truth on, and sometimes it's very hard to reason with them. Now, what I have found is many times they will claim that the history is wrong and that their experience is right with no evidence to show why it's right. So these are just some of the general and logical problems with past lives. Now let's talk about the spiritual problems. I need a coffee. Woo! First, even after going through all of that, I know that most of you can see why this can't be true along with biblical Christianity. If one is true, the other must be false. But we have to ask ourselves, not all of these cases are made up. Some people really believe this, and I would go as far as to say it's in the minority that they would try to downright lie when it comes to what they believe to be past life memories. Some people might just be wanting to believe it because they feel it, just like we went over, but other times there's definitely a spiritual element to this, and it can get a little creepy. In my experience, many people who claim they have lived past lives don't just rely on dreams or hypnotherapy or meditation. They believe it because a channeled entity tells them these things. Whether it's a spirit guide of some sort or through psychics, many people have deep entrenched connections to the belief of reincarnation because of what these beings have told them. And in case some of you may not remember, a lot of people who believe in reincarnation specifically believe that channeled entities are spirit guides or ascended masters who have reached nirvana and are able to guide them through the karmic cycle, among other things. People are ready and willing to enter into an altered state of consciousness, and scripture is very clear that this is something forbidden by God for a reason. When you yield yourself to spiritual principalities, then you open yourself up to their influence and your desire to engage in spiritism. Spirits are more than happy to lead you anywhere except towards the Bible, Jesus, and the gospel. They will do anything and everything to distort the identity of Jesus and redefine who he is and what the gospel is. In all my years in the New Age, I never once heard of any entity giving correct information about the Bible. It was always cherry-picked to cater to another New Age belief or religion. It was always some truth mixed with lies. It was never just the Bible alone, or just Jesus, or the gospel. It was never correctly relayed. They were really, really good at making a meat recipe out of a vegan cookbook. This is really strange though, because if these beings don't really care what your religion is, and all they care about is spiritual unity and enlightenment, then why are they so committed to not being tolerant of anything that has to do with the biblical gospel? Why would it matter to them who Jesus actually is unless it somehow hurts them? Jesus to them can be an ascended master, Buddha, a leader, an angel, one of many gods, pretty much anything else except Yahweh in the flesh. Furthermore, when someone binds themselves to a spirit guide, it seems they will tolerate any belief except biblical Christianity. In many cases, they will turn hostile. For people leaving the New Age, this is incredibly eye-opening. And for a lot of people, it was this reaction from spirits that they were entertaining that told them that Satan existed and that there's more to Jesus than they thought. Now, I explain all this because there's a spiritual motivation here to promote reincarnation and past lives. And in my research of this topic, I was very surprised to find that a lot of people have linked their past memories to a spirit visiting them and giving them this information. This spirit would tell them who they were, they would relay memories to them, and in my case, personally, this was true of many of my friends who were in the New Age. It was sort of a spiritual hierarchy to have a spirit guide give you spiritual information, which is why I was in the process of trying to invoke my own. And thank God I never succeeded. We see this in scripture as well. A famous one is in Acts 16, verse 16, with the girl who was possessed by a spirit of divination. A spirit of divination gives information to people that makes it seem like they're receiving future revelation, but they're really getting false information that seems to be true. Many people can be targeted and claim they have had past life memories, but it was really a spiritual influence that gave them this information. In this aspect, past life memories aren't coming from the people or the children themselves, but rather demonic projections that are grafted into their minds. Now, to the child or the person, this seems as if it's their own thoughts, and they don't know how to discern the difference. It's also very interesting that there's a very, very high correlation of people who practice New Age spirituality and have these experiences. And we talked about false memories before, and they occur very often in these altered states of consciousness. People claim they have vivid recollection of living on other planets, even being a former god or goddess, or any number of past life experiences. This makes people highly suggestible to these ideas, and believers are not called to be sober-minded for no reason. It's for our own protection.